Hey, hunting family, you are tuning into the Tracks and Tackle podcast, brought to you by Menser Outdoors.
Hey there, hunting family. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Tracks and Tackle. And today we're going to be diving into part 2 of our fascinating conversation with my good friend Brett Garretson from Alpine Peaks. In this episode, we're shifting gears from beekeeping to the wild outdoors of Montana. We're going to discuss the incredible wildlife found out west, the ins and outs of hunting in Montana, and the process for securing those coveted elk tags. Plus, we've got some great stories lined up from our younger days hunting together. So sit back, relax, get ready for another round of adventure and storytelling. Let's get started with part 2 of our interview with Brett Garretson. Hey there, hunting family. It's time to give a shout out to a company that's been keeping our communities moving since 1995. I'm talking about Interstate Garage Doors. For nearly 3 decades, Interstate Garage Doors has been the go-to choice for comprehensive garage door services in South Central PA, as well as the surrounding Hagerstown, Maryland, and Martinsburg, West Virginia areas. And get this, they're not just any company. They're veteran-owned and family-operated, with a proud history of serving both residential and commercial clients. Their professional technicians are the real deal, offering top-notch installations from industry-leading manufacturers and expert repairs for all garage door makes and models. From residential garage doors to overhead doors and openers, Interstate Garage Doors does it all. So whether you're a hardworking contractor building homes or a homeowner looking for service or just needing an upgrade, you can trust Interstate Garage Doors to get the job done right. And hey, they're not just experts in garage doors, they're also experts in giving back to the community, sponsoring podcasts like Tracks and Tackle. Are you ready to experience the Interstate difference for yourself? If so, here's a little something extra for our loyal podcast listeners. Use promo code Tracks and Tackle when you contact Interstate so they know you heard about them here. Just visit igdoors.com today to get an estimate or request service, or give them a call at 717-263-3150. Don't wait. Take the first step towards a smoother, more secure garage today. Awesome, man. Awesome, man. So let me shift gears here on us a little bit. And, like I said, we grew up together. We've gone and, I've hunted your family's property. You've hunted our family's property. And we spent a lot of time together growing up as kids. But Brett was sent me some pictures of a couple of the bears that he's killed here recently. It sounds like you got a bear problem, but it's not a problem for you. You're enjoying it out there. What kind of wildlife are you harvesting out there, man?
A little bit of everything. And actually, we had a bear out front here this morning, and I put my dogs away because we have an Australian Shepherd that is a bear chasing son of a gun.
Yeah, man. And they patrol the property.
Yeah. I saw it. Looks like you might have an Aussie.
I do, man. I had a campfire going last night, and it's a time of year where I know the neighborhood's got some skunks, and I'm like, man, it's just a matter of time before because anything comes onto the property, she's running it off, and it usually works out in her favor. But I don't want her to run into any polecats.
Oh yeah. I've dealt with that, and so we're covered up in bears normally in the spring. So it's and that bear was, I don't know, from where I'm sitting here, it might have been 80 yards this morning. Just a color phase like a cinnamon black bear. So we have a lot of color phase bears. I would say maybe more than solid black as far as the black bears go. Mm-hmm. And it's just one of those things we're kind of in the right spot between here and a few miles down the road, I have a friend that has a ranch down there, and they're just covered up with them too. So it's just part of the deal here. Just black bears all over the place. Of course, the grizz. We don't have quite as many grizz up kind of the north end of the valley here. When you start getting closer to the park, park meaning Yellowstone, of course, they're thick, and it's a real deal. I just read an article this morning. There was a guy up north. There's kind of two different groups of grizzlies here. We've got the greater Yellowstone ecosystem, the grizzlies around my neck of the woods here, and then up in the northern continental divide up by Glacier. And I read an article this morning where an older guy was picking huckleberries up there and got attacked by a grizzly and ended up killing it. I guess he pulled a handgun and killed it. And then just a day or two ago in Gardner, south of me here, they had to shoot one that kept coming into town and just being a problem. So the bears are a real deal here. It's definitely, if you make it out to hunt, anybody that's going out west, I think one of your first things is decide if grizzly country is where you want to hunt, because it changes a lot of things. But yeah, we kill bears pretty regularly, typically in the spring. And of course, just black bears right now. Grizzlies are still on the protected list. So the only time you can shoot a grizzly right now legally or have it be justified is if your livestock is in danger, or if you, of course, your personal life
Right.
or someone else's life is in danger.
You got to justify the kill.
Yeah, exactly. And you better be able to justify it, or you're gonna have a lot of trouble on your hands. So, but yeah, the black bear hunting's been awesome. And I'm around bears so much that, again, you just learn the best way to learn about anything is just time involved with whatever you're learning about. So just being exposed to bears so much, you learn quite a bit about them pretty quickly.
Right.
What's the bag limit out there?
So one bear per person, and it can be spring or fall. So we have a spring season that's from like mid-April to mid-June, and then it comes back in the fall. Starts with archery in September and then runs through the rifle season in the end of November. But yeah, one bear per person right now.
And you got elk out that way?
Yeah. Elk has become my obsession since moving out west. Primarily archery elk hunting. I'm just obsessed is the only, I think that word gets used a lot with hunting, but what else can you say?
If you love archery hunting, then I mean, you're a different breed to begin with, right? So like archery's not the same.
Yeah, and when you're out there with the bow and you have a bull coming in screaming at you at 20 yards away, it's something you have to experience. And if you love to archery hunt, it's something you've got to put on your to-do list. Mm-hmm. Because it's just, to me, it's second to none. I mean, it's just awesome.
Yeah, that's definitely on my bucket list. And be nice to connect with you, get out there, and I don't know if you can get me one or not, but if not, I'll find another path. But it's definitely on my list of things that I want to do here before I die.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, make it happen. So that's that's kind of my primary focus in archery. And the cool thing out here is that when archery starts, I have a pocket full of tags, because archery opens. pretty much everything is open in archery. So you've got bear comes back in, elk, deer, and that's mule deer or whitetail, lion, wolf, antelope comes in August. So, I mean, you've got like a telephone book thickness worth of tags in your pocket, and it's awesome.
How do the
'cause you
wolf
never know
tags work?
Wolf tags are just over the counter. So
So there's no lottery or anything like that.
no, and you can shoot. I think you can still get 5 tags
Wow.
total. Yeah, for wolves. So I haven't killed a wolf yet. I've seen several. In most times, inevitably, it's outside of season.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I just haven't been fortunate enough to have it work out where I've had a chance at a wolf during season. My neighbors here have a place or a piece of ground that's usually pretty good for wolves in the winter, and we usually try to hit that once or twice through the winter, and we just haven't quite hit it at the right time. They cover quite a bit of country, so it can be tough.
Yeah, we got coyotes. I mean, certainly no wolves out here, but we got coyote problems, and man, they're elusive. That's just how they function. Those canines are intelligent.
Yeah, they're pretty slick. Yeah, and I never really got into trapping. That's kind of I would like to. That's on my to-do list, and I've been told that wolves are one of the most difficult things to trap. That you really have to have all your ducks in a row if you're going to try to be successful trapping a wolf.
Yeah, you got to line all the stars. Got to line up. I was just talking with Brady this week and another guy that we had on the show about trapping. So I've never really gotten into it either, but I might try my hand at it a little bit. I had a nice old bobcat come in on me in archery season last year. And, all you can do is sit and watch them, because of the time of year it was and we're in season. I didn't have a permit to harvest. And, but it's just the diversity of animals that you see in the wild, and they're beautiful, if you can sit and watch them. And I just sat there with my cell phone and recorded this animal, from my tree stand and circling the area. So I might try my hand at it. We'll see how it goes, but I'm in the same boat. Never really did a lot of that. And I'm gonna connect with some people that can, sort of always looking for a mentor in areas where you're trying something new.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's always the kind of way to kind of accelerate learning or flatten the learning curve a little bit is to have somebody that's been there, done that, and just kind of tag along and learn the tricks of the trade.
So Brady, what questions you got for my old friend here from back in the day? I know we started talking a little bit to start the show. We got a little bit of history, and Brett can tell you the truth on a lot of things. But we're having some technical difficulties, and we really weren't able to dive into any personal stories. But got any questions for him?
Yeah, before we get there, I loosely looked probably kind of towards the end of the hunting season. That's where you have time to really start to think and wonder. But get talking to some people and it sparks your interest. So I know you walked this life, but for guys like us looking to go out and hunt some elk, I really realized it's a process because there's a point system, and what state do you want to hunt? Some states are harder than others. Just some insight on that and advice for us going on the future. Because I was told if I want to, hey, if you want to hunt, now's the time where you got to start, buying in so you can start getting your points. So, 4 years, 5 years from now, you can actually go on it rather than, if I want to go this year, it's not happening. It's going to be a few years in advance.
Yeah, good question, because I get a lot of old friends, family, what have you, that have the same question that, what I want to go hunt elk out west, where do you start? So I'd say number one is kind of what state you have in mind. So I can tell you right now, Colorado is probably the most used state as far as over-the-counter tags. And by over-the-counter, I mean you don't need points, you don't draw, you just buy. You can purchase your tag and go hunt. But Colorado is they're starting to tighten the reins on that a little bit. I would say the second easiest place to go elk hunt is Idaho. Where I guided it there in Idaho, that was an over-the-counter unit. So every year a guy could buy that tag and show up and go hunt elk. So those are two things to look at. Wyoming for a while I'm not as familiar with Wyoming or Colorado for that matter, but I know Wyoming's another one that had some over-the-counter stuff. But all the western states are starting to really kind of tighten the reins and get more expensive in the same token. Now, Montana has a draw system for non-residents, and you have to apply by April 1st. So obviously this year that ship has sailed. And the way it works is kind of interesting is I think there's like 15,000 or so non-resident tags that are allocated. Might be more, but it's somewhere in that 15 to 20 some thousand ballpark. So you apply, and actually the first year you apply with 0 points, they allocate 25% of all those tags to people with 0 points, just to not discourage people, I guess.
Right.
So the other 75% go to people with 2 points or more. So what's happened, I have friends that come out, and my dad has come out several times. Every other year they've been able to draw, because first year 0 points, the following year they buy a point, and then the following year they have 2 points, and then they draw. So all those guys are coming out again this fall. And it kind of makes you could play the strategy there where if you drew 1 year with 0 points, you could buy it again the next year and not buy a point. But then if that doesn't work, then you've got you fall back in that groove. So that's kind of how Montana works. But, those are, I would say, of any of the states that hunt out west, those 4 I mentioned, Colorado, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, they're the 4 that I would look at. You get places like Utah, Arizona that are known for big bulls. They're all super difficult draws. Those are the places you're gonna be spending a lot of money buying points and waiting a long time, most likely, to draw those tags. There are places here in Montana where you have to draw. But what I mentioned was for general units. The non-resident thing. And general units cover a better portion of the state. So that's the route I would go. And there are certain places where you can, again, draw special tags where maybe they hold a little bit bigger bulls, but then you're going to be waiting, and you're going to be thrown in there with all the residents that might be putting in. And it's just, it's a long haul. The point thing, I never really got much into it. I put in for goat and sheep every year out here, and I should be having enough points to draw a goat tag here in the next season or so. So that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Yeah, so start there. Figure out where you want to go, what weapon you want to use. You want to do archery, you want to do rifle, because that makes a difference too. Idaho, you have to choose one or the other.
Yep.
Where Montana here, you can go right from rifle season, or from archery rather, and then go right into rifle with the same tag. Now, granted, it's easier for a guy like me that lives here. But yeah, it's nailing down what you want to do, and then just start doing some some research. But those over-the-counter units, if you want to hunt right away and not waste a bunch of time and money, and I mean right away, meaning like in relatively short period of time, not years and years, and start looking at those over-the-counter units in various states, namely, again, Colorado, Idaho.
Yeah, every state I'm sure is different, but some of my buddies had an experience where I guess it's linked to a certain particular unit, a grass of land. So where I go is, if me and Ronnie or me and a buddy are going to apply, that we both get the same unit to hunt versus, hey, we both get picked, but I'm on the eastern side of the state and he's on the western side of the state kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yes, states are more unit specific. And again, like those over-the-counter tags, they're for specific units, and generally they're units that maybe there are quite a few elk there, and they want to bring the population down a little bit more, so they make the tags more readily available. Sometimes the downside to that is the over-the-counter units. Of course, everybody and their brother is getting those tags because they're easy to come by. Where Montana with the general unit, you can hunt any general unit in the state, so you're not tied to just one spot. Like literally, you could hunt this area, and then you can hop in the vehicle and drive 5 hours and still use your same tag. Just for example, and you can apply as a party, which means, like, say you guys want to put in as a family, you want to make sure it's all or nothing. So you're all going to get going or nobody is. So that's an option too. That way it's not just one guy with a tag and then you're like, hey, you want to come along and just for moral support.
Cameraman.
Yeah, be the cameraman, exactly. So, but yeah, I'd be happy to fill you guys in on all the specifics. I know we probably don't have all the time that we would want today to go over that here on the.
Yeah, we'll have to have a sidebar conversation on it, because I think it's something that both of us are interested in, pursuing at some point. So, and it'd be cool to do it together, because the whole point is making memories, right? And capturing those moments and living your best life. So,
yeah, absolutely. And you've got to make it happen, and these days, it's like everybody's so busy, and I know it's tough to do these things, but you just gotta end for it and say, hey, we're gonna do it. And no better time than now to just start putting those pieces together. And because you do have to, of course, it's planning in advance for sure. So you got to start early and just stick with it. And it ain't going to get any cheaper either. So,
no. And I think about it like, a lot of people might say, hey, I'd love to go out west and guide for, hunts and, buy a piece of land, but you did it, right? A lot of people talk about it, but not everybody does it. And so, like, that's the key. You got to just, like you said, just got to put in for it and put your best foot forward sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Ones that if you're waiting for the right time to do certain things, there usually never is a right time. And it just comes down to the fact that you just got to do it and make it a priority. And I know it's easier said than done to some degree, but if it's important to you, you always find a way to make it happen.
Yep, you always find time for that. So Brett, you were up to our cabin with Ronnie, I'm hearing. I want to know how our mountains compare to your mountains. How humbled are you when you have to go for a long hike?
Got to say, you guys have right out the back door there, your place. It's steep, So
and he's not been to the back side, Brady.
Yeah, so steep no matter where you're at in the country. So definitely for PA, you guys, you have a pretty rugged piece there, and of course it's a pretty good slog up to the top. And I'd actually only been out to hunt once. We would go out and kind of have gatherings, if you want to put it that way. We'd throw some parties but typically we weren't out there hiking at that point.
So, you're chopping firewood.
Yeah, chopping firewood, doing chores, painting and stuff like that. Yeah. But the difference out here is it may be equally, if not more steep, but it never quits. It never, you don't get to the typically, or it depends what range you're in, but it just goes and goes and goes. And it's, a lot of the hunting is dictated by what your limitations are.
Mm-hmm.
In all honesty, because the air is thinner here. I'm at 6,000 feet right here at my house, and the background back here is 11,000. And to show there's quite a diversity of terrain. It's not all just super steep and what have you, but it's generally always you're going to be in for a hike, and you're going to be sucking wind typically. So, but yeah, PA gets steep. It just topped out. My nephew's coming in next week, and my mom, and here behind me there's a lake up there about 10,000 feet. So to put it in perspective, I'm going to try to drag him up there, and it's a 5-mile walk from the trailhead. But in that 5 miles, it gains almost 4,000 feet of elevation.
Wow.
So Pennsylvania, I think the highest point in PA is about 2,800 feet. So to put that in perspective, you would be starting at sea level in PA. You'd climb to the highest point, and then another 1,200 feet higher to get up in the lake.
In a 5-mile period.
In a 5-mile span. That kind of gives you a little perspective on the scale of things. But I kind of figured I'd drag him up there. The lake's loaded with cutthroat trout up there, and it's absolutely a beautiful hike, but you got to be committed. And he's 15 now, and to me, this is like a test for him. He should be in good
age
shape
to take a walk like that.
Oh, absolutely. It'll be a character building exercise for sure. So
that's very cool, man.
So you guys don't have horseback? You're not giving them the cookie cutter route?
My neighbors have 30 plus horses, and there was a time where I thought about getting some horses, and they're like, why would you buy horses? We have 30 or more. If you ever need a horse, just let us know, or if you want to ride, So I have kind of a love-hate with horses. I'm a good rider. I've ridden a ton. Pretty much all the guiding I've done has been with horses, but I don't always feel like they're a great asset. My favorite time to see a horse is when I've got a pack of bull out, and those horses are the most welcome thing that you'd want to see. Otherwise, they can be a pain in the butt, and they're kind of, they take maintenance when you're out there in the backcountry, and you can, at the end of the day, you can still walk places that you can't take a horse. So, but yeah, I mean, the trail back here is open. They only up to the lake. I think you can only ride horses up there during the goat season, which is like September and after. So it's kind of a unique spot where you can't always just ride horses in there. So
that's sweet.
Yeah.
Cool deal. Let's dive in. I want to hear some memorable stories between you and Ron here, or maybe not so memorable, but you shared some good laughs.
We don't remember half the stories.
This is a family program, right?
Yeah.
Well, you can. I mean, we can be I don't know, creative with your language.
Yeah, I keep it G-rated these days, but yeah, I mean, we had a ton of good times, and the cool thing with and to me, Ron is always meant. I know he's Arrow Eagle at the moment, but if I say Mentor, that's just my general reference. I've always known him as Mentor. So,
Yep.
the cool thing with us that he kind of touched on is that we grew up together. And I apologize, guys. Let me plug. I'm ill prepared. Let me plug this computer in before I lose you real quick. Just take a second.
Interview would end real quick. There it went. We lost him. So he'll jump back on here in a moment. But yeah, it's good to get the story, get the background. He's full of a lot of information, and for just talking to Brett, he's probably, a lot like my brother, your dad, where he's not tech savvy. He's more like, just leave me out in the woods. I don't even need a phone. And
yeah, especially if you camped from that far when he was guiding.
Yeah. So he's embraced that lifestyle. And so we'll give him a minute here. We'll see if he's jumps back on. But any other thoughts on today's episode?
So why don't you, while he's getting set up there, why don't you share a good hunting tale with your good buddy Brett?
Well, we talked about taking him up to the cabin, and he's been up to the cabin several times, a handful of times hunting. And he's actually been successful up at our camp. He took a doe. I think it was in rifle season, though. Yeah, I'm almost positive it was with a gun. But like he said, like right out back, it's steep. And he didn't even have to go far. You know what I mean? Like, we put him in a stand that's right out behind the outhouse. We put him in a stand that doesn't even exist anymore because it's like been so many years ago. But it was like really, literally that hollow right out behind the outhouse. And I just figured that is the easiest place to put somebody. You're right outside of camp. And I know that the deer run one of the other hollows on either side of the camp. So he was watching that hollow. And I don't know where I was hunting that day, but I heard the gun bark. And he had a successful hunt with us. We went up hunting for like a day or two, So we spent a lot of time playing cards and drinking beer and hanging out and just enjoying the camp. We're going to let him back in, but he's actually had success up on our property. And I don't know that any of my other friends, I've got maybe one other buddy that I've taken up there that's actually harvested something. I've got a buddy that we took up bear hunting one time.
All right. Am I back?
Are you with us?
Yeah, go figure, man. I don't know. You guys know more about this than I do. I got no warning until my computer was like done.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess this obviously uses a little more juice, maybe. So my apologies, and that would be typical of me to be the guy that has the computer that just dies in the middle of things. So my apologies. Maybe we can edit that part out.
Yeah, I've got some editing skills. It's no issue.
Yeah, that's what I hear. So,
I was sharing with Brady some stories about you having success. How we spent a lot of time at our property, but hunting not a ton of it. But you're one of the few guys that are friends of mine that has gone up there and actually harvested an animal.
Yeah, for sure. And a little bit about that story. I was just thinking about that, prior to us jumping on here, and that was a pretty cool deal. We went up and did our usual. I think we probably had a few adult beverages. The the night before, and then I remember the slog up the hill in the morning in the dark. I think I was feeling it a little bit, and you know, um, get up to the top there, and it broke light, and we kind of split up. And I don't know if it was early in doe season, or I don't remember how the seasons were split up at that point in time, if it all ran together or not. But there were quite a few people around, I guess other guys that had cabins there. So when it got light, like I realized I'm kind of in the middle of, I wasn't in a great spot. Like I couldn't see these guys. And of course I'm halfway, like not 100%, that morning. Right. And so that's kind of how it started off. And then from what I recall, we get back to we kind of stopped for lunch, and you offered to make lunch, which I was like, yeah, that sounds great. And I popped out. I think you said, hey, there's a stand right out here, not too far from the cabin, and I'll make lunch. You go ahead, just hang out until I'm done, which was awesome. It was a great gesture, good friend, make lunch. And
great host. I was a good guide.
Yeah. So sure as heck, I go out there, and I don't think I was even in that stand very long whatsoever. And bang, shot a doe. And I remember you come flying out the door, like looking around, like, what the, are you kidding me? You shot something already? So that was pretty cool how that all worked out. And then you had that old white Jeep Wrangler, and we folded that deer up when we left. We had it like wedged in behind the seat, and the little tailgate thing has. So
poor Sarah.
Well, hey, listen, Brady, I don't know if you remember that old white Jeep that I have. You probably do. But yeah, I mean, there's been blood on the floorboards of that. We've, I've actually hauled a black bear in the back of that thing.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yep. So it squatted a little bit, but it did the job.
Our whole childhood growing up, I kind of started into it a little bit before the computer died. But we had it really good as kids. We went to the same school our entire, from kindergarten basically through high school. We're together that whole time. Had some of the greatest times that kid could ever have, and our parents gave us enough free reign that we got to do a lot of really cool things that I don't think kids have the opportunity to do these days. And we're just old enough. I think we caught the tail end of kind of some of the coolest times that there were to be a kid. It was just different. And we raised some hell, but at the end of the day, we never hurt anybody. We were just kids having a good time, learned our lessons. But yeah, just good old fashioned fun. I mean, that's the best way I can put it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I would say, we learned a lot. You learn as much from doing things the wrong way as from being taught to do it the right way. And I think that Brett, you hit on it. Brady, I'll tell you a story off camera about taking Brett home one night. But our parents gave us long enough leash that we were able to like go out and really live life as kids. And it was before the time. I mean, the internet existed. But Brett, I'll tell you a story. We were talking here last winter, or down in my basement, and we were scalding some buck heads to do some European mounts. And Brady, I don't know what we're telling stories or whatever, and he asked me, he's like, "Well, did the internet exist? Back then? Could you look that up? Like, who taught you how to do this? Did the internet exist?" And it's just funny because, when we were young, there wasn't an internet. And as we were teenagers, it existed, but we didn't give a rip about it because we wanted to be outside and we were just living life. And here, nowadays everybody's like connected to it and couldn't live without it. But Brett's an example of, yeah, you really can, and life might be better. And I'll go back to what he said, nature is the real world. We just fabricated everything else. So, to sum everything up, I think that's a great statement, man. And I'm super happy we were able to connect with you today, spend a little bit of time, hanging out and telling some stories. And, we weren't that bad, but we learned a lot of lessons growing up together as well,
Yeah, I think it's a prime example of, it was something. There's a lot of stories that maybe I'd rather not remember
Sure.
of the ones that we do, but it's all good. And I think it's a prime example of when you're a kid and you're living your life, people, I think, too quickly sometimes think they know what your journey is.
Yep.
Like, oh, this, I, not to say we were bad kids, I'd get in some trouble in school and this and that. And I think there were some people that they jump to conclusions that what your life is going to be. And I think we have both been successful people and live good lives, and we had fun. So when kids today, when people want to label somebody when they're like 15, 17 years old, people have different courses. You can't say a kid is going to turn out a certain way because of something they do when they're 15 years old.
Right.
And, so anyhow, we lived to tell about it. And man, we had some good times. And I feel for kids these days because it's a different world.
Well,
and
it is
we were
completely.
able to do. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, man.
No, I was just gonna say, I was thinking, like, Brady, when you were like 15 years old, you were pretty quiet,
Yeah.
And here you are, hosting a podcast and putting yourself out there week over week, making videos and reaching the masses. So it just is a testament to what Brett was saying.
Brady, I'm kind of curious. Before we jumped on here, I had mentioned to you that you were back in the day. You were really young, so I didn't really have any interaction with you back in the old days. And your brother was a little bit older, so I very well remember Brad. But so what's your? Are you just curious a little bit about you? Like, what's happening with you, and are you an archery guy? Kind of what I know it's been kind of me just talking about my stuff here, but I'm kind of curious while we're on here, a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so a lot of school growing up, 7 years. I'm a physical therapist. But as for the archery outdoors world and fishing, all kind of that stuff, I tell Ron, like, each year. So growing up, my family, like, it was very much like weaved into the cultural stuff and the the family bonding and the traditions that we've come along, like opening day, whether it's fishing or deer season. And each year we seem to embrace it a little bit more. So I'd probably say maybe, I don't know, coming out of high school and college, college, you're in a pinch for time, but making that time and going on the adventures and whatnot and sticking with it. Like each year I'm more committed. I'm more hungry to get out there. So I dug my bow out the earliest I think I've done it out to get more practice in, and I'm really eager. Man, you should see my time off from last year to this year. It just keeps growing for what I continue to pour into this hobby. And obsession's a strong word. I think I'm getting to that point, because I would really say growing up, you really wonder, is this just fun, or is this what you really say is part of your life? And I think I'm at the point I can say that.
No, that's awesome, and I'm glad it sounds like you've got a good career going as well. And it's I think having things straightened out like that is kind of the backbone to being able to get out and do these hunts and stuff. At the end of the day, it does take money and it does take time off and
Right.
things like that. So the more you can set yourself up for success, you get to do that kind of stuff. And it all comes from hard work. We've all worked our butts off. This stuff doesn't happen by accident. So
yeah.
Brady's put his time in at the trim company.
Hey, you got to cut your teeth there at Mentor Trim Co. That's just part of the gig.
There's a free sponsor.
Awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, man, last year I've had most success, and I'm kind of getting into turkey hunting too. Not too much action, but you spend more time out in the woods, you're gonna see more stuff. So for deer season, I had probably my most successful year, and the more you pour in, the more you get out. Kind of similar to what you said. So I'm really eager for archery's going to be here in no time, so I'm eager for that, and I'm getting my hopes up and just ready to park the technology, get away from the screens, and just be in my ladder stand waiting.
No, that's awesome. Keep up the good work, and yeah, just make it. I know it's hard to make it a priority or make time, but you never regret time afield. The other stuff you can squeeze in, but no, glad to hear it. And you've got good family around you and good bunch of folks.
Appreciative of it.
Yeah, he's done really well at really impressed me with his ability to go out and do an all day sit and stick it out. And he's having some success because he's putting the time in the tree stand. So it's been fun to watch for sure.
Yeah,
he's pushing me too.
Yeah, it started with spring gobbler. It was a nice day. I think we hunted hard in the morning, and it was late May, so you can all the way to dawn. So me and my buddy Ron was there. We came in, we had lunch, and then I think a short shower, maybe a nap, and we ran back out. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, the day's already over. Why can't I do this in deer season? So archery is especially easier because it's a lot warmer. Your toes aren't freezing, and you can feel your fingers. So yeah, just spent some time, and I realized the deer do move in the middle of the day. So you see some deer around 10 or 11, or 1 or 2. It makes it, hey, how many deer have I chased off? How many opportunities have I blown because I was bored and wanted to go in and get a sandwich, or I just wanted to go in and get a different perspective, different view.
Yeah,
but, it's just more time out in the woods. You see more stuff going on, and it just pours into why we do this. Like, even if you're not successful, just you see the squirrel acting up on this limb, or you see some movement far away, or just coming in. Ronnie here is my good hunting buddy. Luckily, he still has some time off after all his trips, so just to share memories and continue to make memories along the way.
Brett, you said about when you need to pack out that elk, and how the horse is the most delightful thing that you could lay eyes on. Well, my hunting buddy is, whenever I'm killing deer, man, I love seeing the Hollywood horse. We started archery season last year and shot a little doe, and we went up. It was warm, like you were just saying, Brady, about how archery is not as cold as rifle is, but it was warm because I was wearing like a t-shirt and a pair of shorts, dragging this deer out. And it's always nice to have a hunting partner to do it. It's when you're not doing it alone. So memories are what it's all about.
Yeah, and having people to help.
Yes.
You hit the nail on the head. Like,
it's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, so sometimes they're the best memories, what they call that type 2 fun, where it really sucked at the time sometimes, but then you have all these memories to think back about, So
We do that just
yeah,
about every year when we drag a deer up over the backside of that mountain. I'm cursing and saying I'll never do this again, and then come January we're reminiscing, and that was really nice. The bucks really have that tore up. So yeah, it's the memories. It's what it's all about. But well, listen, man, it's afternoon here. We got a little bit of daylight left. I want to give you most of your day back. Really appreciate you coming on and just talking shop with us for a little bit. This is you've got we'll extend an invitation for you to come back anytime that you want. But really, really glad that we were able to connect and swap some stories and get your take on just, nature and your journey, hearing your story. It's been fun to listen to.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you having me, and again, this is different for me. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Much all of it was on my end, but yeah, I'd love to have another chat sometime. And I know just by my nature, I'd jump around sometimes, but I love to talk about hunting. I get wound up about it, and maybe one of these days we do something that's just kind of a little more focused on certain hunting topic or whatever. Yeah. If people, whatever people are interested in, if you guys want to hear more about what it takes to get out here and do some stuff or whatever, I'm game, and it's just good talking with you guys.
Yeah, this is a great way to spend time with your friends. If you can't be together, you still get to connect and have those conversations, which, like you said, even in your line of work, are important. You get to know people by talking to them.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, listen, man, we're gonna cut you loose. We'll wrap it up. Anybody that is watching, thanks a lot for your patronage. Remember, you can go to alpinepeaksmt for Montana.com for any of the honeybee products. And yeah, man, follow us, give us a 5-star review. Check us out on YouTube, Instagram, anywhere you get your podcast. Appreciate your support. And like we always say, man, we want to make sure that our listeners out there are living life to the fullest and staying as wild as the wind. We'll tune in next time on Tracks and Tackle. Take it easy.